Hey everybody, welcome back into League of Our Own. We are fast approaching week 2 of the NRL Finals, unfortunately without the New Zealand Warriors, but I do have my great mate Adam Blair. Blairy, as always, awesome to be in your company, mate. How are things?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Scorin. It's that time of the night again where we push out this podcast, and to all our viewers and listeners all over our platforms. Always good to see you, bro. It's been busy here. It's been pretty public knowledge what's been going on at the Newcastle Knights, mate. But footy doesn't stop, and the merry-go-round just keeps going, and in rugby league. So great to be here. And unfortunately, yes, the Warriors are out, so we're still here bringing a beautiful game of rugby league, man.
To start, I've got 2 questions for you. First of all, was it a forward pass? And second of all, did it impact the outcome of the game, Wars v Penrith?
I'll go the second one first. I think the game's, and we always speak about the game, and the game's made up of moments, and you can either win the moments or you can lose the moments. And I think in that instance, and even watching it on TV and listening to the commentary, everyone called it a forward pass.
Yeah.
Everyone called it a forward pass. I tend to agree, but in that moment, the momentum was taken away from the Warriors. Obviously, that kick was a horrible kick. The Warriors were going after them, but you make your own luck in the game of rugby league. They put pressure down there. They got down on the kick chase, and the ball bounced straight into their hands. But at the end of the day, I thought it was a forward pass, Goran. So unfortunate for the Warriors, but that's rugby league.
It's pretty clear and obvious to everybody watching that was a forward pass that led directly to a Panthers try, which put some serious space between themselves and the Wars. Why can't they go back and check? I know that they've made a rule that they will not rule, the bunker cannot make an adjudication on a forward pass. They can do it when they slow it down. For case in point, we saw Stewart go up, try and tap the ball back, and the Raiders nearly won against the Broncos.
Yeah.
They can do it for a bat back or a bat forward. Why can't they do it for a pass back or forward? I just don't understand it. Show us all of the angles that you've got, and I think most people, 99 times out of 100, would be able to say, that's a forward pass, pull up the play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I reckon when it comes to these big games, Goran, there has to be something like that in play. I reckon if we have introduced now the extra 5 minutes each way in the finals football only before Golden Point, surely there's something they can do for the blatant ones. I think the ones that you don't just... you can just think, it could have gone either way. But there's been some forward passes, I reckon, you can clearly see. And if the commentators can see it on the day from where they're commentating from, there has to be an answer that there must be a way that they can get the correct call in these big games, because these are finals football and people are playing for positions, or people are playing for their season. The season was on the line for the Warriors, and the Penrith Panthers won that moment and took it away from them in that instance as well.
Yeah. Well, look, maybe it's a discussion for another day, because here I am just thinking, going over and over in my head, how could you actually do this? Whether it's just ruling on the play that leads to the try, or is it a set of 6 that leads up to a try? But then, you've got the bunker working so hard to try and find a forward pass, and if it's a try that's been scored on play 5, yet on play 1, there was a slightly marginal forward pass. How far back do you go? But as I say, maybe it's a conversation for another time and we just park that, move on. I think there's plenty of other stuff that we can talk about on League of Our Own, episode 29, can you believe, here in week 2 of the NRL Finals. And massive news last night. The Simon Mannering Medal for 2025, it has been won. Earlier in the year, we thought that Erin Clark was doing enough to earn his very first Simon Mannering Medal. Turns out that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck did enough to win his 4th. What do you make of that result for RTS?
Yeah, I think we crowed a little bit earlier. Well, I did anyway.
We both did.
It would have been maybe probably a month ago, or even a month and a half ago. I said that Erin Clark, right now, I'm calling it, he's going to be the Simon Mannering winner for the Warriors, because I thought he had an outstanding year, and I think he played most games this year, Goran. He didn't sit on the sideline at all, I don't think. Don't hold me to that. But I think between both of them, I thought Roger was class this year as well. I thought he found a home on the wing. He was consistently making meters. He was hard to handle when he brought the ball back. But it was the Roger that we know. And I think about when you see someone like Erin and you marry up his stats from where he come from to where he is now, a huge improvement around his football. He will look back on this year and say it was a pretty successful year personally for his development, and he would have learned a lot. And I think he was unlucky not to win that medal. I think he was my pick, but I can't say that Roger wasn't just as good this year as well for the Warriors.
Erin Clark, he was like a bolt from the blue when the Warriors needed it most. When Tohu Harris retires, and then when Dylan Walker leaves for the Eels mid-season, and you've got Mitch Barnett going down, it's like he took on the role of like 2 or 3 men, and he never shirked that responsibility. He was very difficult to contend with when he'd bring the ball forward. He was always there or thereabouts when it came to the tackle count as well. When you consider the players that the Warriors lost, and also where Erin Clark has come from, where he was, and I don't mean to be rude, he was like not a bit part player, but he wasn't like a first choice member of the Gold Coast Titans squad before he arrived at the Warriors. So I just think his elevation in 2025, it had to end with the Simon Mannering medal win. I'm really shocked, and I'm gutted for him, because it was a breakout season for Erin Clark after so many years of toil in the NRL.
Yeah, when I think about his season and I think about the NRL, I think he goes close to the buy of the year as a player. I think Mark Nwangane-Tuase from the Roosters been awesome for someone that's come from a different code, and he's an elite athlete. He's played for Australia. But when you look at players that have come from another club that weren't at their best, couldn't make the starting team, and has started nearly every game this year for the Warriors and done a really good job for the middle of the park. When you mentioned those boys, Tohu Harris and Dylan Walker, they were looking for people to fill that void. Erin Clark put his hand up and stood tall in the face of a lot of adversity this year around some of this leadership stuff as well, and the way he carried those boys in attack more than anything. But he made his tackles like you said, he racked up some tackles and things like that. So, I think he can be disappointed that he didn't get the big award, but at the same time, I think he's going to be quite happy with the way that he performed individually. Again, the biggest thing for those guys now is what happens next. How do you go moving forward? It's about consistency now for Erin. So, unfortunate for him, but man, if Roger got it, Roger's got it. So I can't argue that he doesn't deserve it.
When you see him play the way that he has this year, it really shits me that we were forced into watching him at centre for last year. It just didn't work. But anyway, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, the Simon Mannering Medal winner for 2025. He also picked up the Players Player Award. And then we need to make mention of Leka Halasima, who was the Rookie of the Year and also the People's Choice Award winner. He sort of got his opportunity off the bench. He almost cemented a starting spot, and then maybe a few handling errors and a few questionable decisions, like the decision-making just wasn't up to scratch, found himself back on the interchange bench. But I think all things weighed up, the sky is the limit for him, really.
Man, he's an entertainer, Grant. And I think I've said it on a few of our episodes. I don't think there's another back row in the competition that can do what Leka does. I understand that Viliame Kikau is strong and explosive, but I think he's a different back rower to Leka. Leka loves just trying to beat defenders one-on-one all the time. One-on-one all the time. He's a smaller frame, but he's brave in stature, the way he carries the ball, the way he competes in the air, the things that he can do that I've seen this year that no other back rower could do. And I go back to that moment with the Newcastle Knights because it was a big moment for him. And I wouldn't think that any other back rower could have done exactly what he did that night in the competition that we have at this, which we call the NRL. So, when you think about a breakout season, this was a breakout season for Leka Halasima. Again, consistency is key with the young kids growing, is that you come on the scenes and no one knows who you are, and now there's vision everywhere on the computers on how to defend someone like Leka Halasima. So the thing for him, awesome, outstanding. Deserves to be obviously voted Rookie of the Year for the Warriors. He'll go close, I reckon, in the NRL as well as Rookie of the Year. But the challenge for him is to continue to be consistent. It's an outstanding achievement. People love him. The kids love him. Hence why he obviously got the People's Choice. He's an excitement machine. There's kids that want to try and be like him. There's kids that want to try and be like him. Anyone would want him to be in their team, and he deserves all the accolades he gets this year. He's been outstanding.
And the Warriors did some good business earlier this year, wrapping up for a long, long time. So get used to seeing Leka the Wrecker at Mount Smart Stadium for years to come. Now, the season, as we know it, for the Warriors at least, is over with that defeat to Penrith Panthers on Saturday night in terrible conditions as well, shocking conditions. But for me, when we break down the season in its entirety, it sort of breaks down in two parts. Round 1 to round 15, and then round 16 and finally out. Let me just read out some stats. So after 15 rounds, Blairy, they were second equal with the Raiders. They were just 2 points behind the Bulldogs, who were in first spot.
Wow.
They were 6 points clear of fifth, that was the Sharks. And they were 8 points clear of the 6th and 7th placed Dolphins and Broncos.
Wow.
Just take a moment to let that sink in. That's how far ahead they were of that chasing pack, the peloton, if you will. And then at the regular season's end, well, they were 2 points outside the top 4. They did have the 5th best defence in the competition. So defence, even though they had their issues down the right-hand side, collectively, defence wasn't too much of a problem. In fact, they had a 10 points better defence than the Canberra Raiders, who won the minor premiership. But they had the worst attack inside the top 10. They just couldn't find points with an average of 21.5 points per game. And, we spoke quite a lot about the perceived soft run home. And even though they didn't have Mitch Barnett and Luke Metcalf, there were plenty of opportunities for them to beat lesser teams in this competition. They didn't take advantage. So from the dizzying heights of round 15 to where they ended up, how do you assess this season of 2025? And if you had to give it a grade, what would it be?
You said it, bro. 1 to 15, round 1s to 15, outstanding. I think you were getting a bit excited there as well. And I said, hey, it's a long season and anything can happen from here. And they were sitting flying high at the top, and there was so many consistencies with them from players staying on the field to their key players, actually, their spine staying on the field. They had a couple of injuries out wide, but they also kept their key spine on the field, which gave them momentum and set them where they were for those first 15 rounds. Again, the injuries come, the loss of leadership alongside James Fisher-Harris, some more injuries to key players didn't allow their spine to find the same momentum or the attacking flair or the speed of Luke Metcalf or the opportunities that he could create with the pure, I guess, just the way that he moved around the field to continue that momentum moving into the back end of the season, which was the most, I guess for all the fans, luckily that they gave themselves all the opportunities nice and early, and that's how you want to start your season, Goran. If you want to be any chance of playing the top 8 or finals football, you need to start strong. Your first 10 rounds, you want to be trying to tick those games off and just trying to win, your as many as those games as you can to set yourself up for the back end, because at some stage everyone's going to build some momentum, teams will fall off and come back in, there'll be some injuries in that space, and hopefully you've done enough to hold that position in the top 8. I think that was the Warriors in the end. They were holding on to the position, and luckily for the work that they'd done early, from where they started in round 1 to the time they played the Melbourne Storm to where they finished in round 15, like you could nearly give that an A minus that first block of the season, and then you move to the back end of the season. I guess consistency with their form, they were okay, but just not good enough to beat the teams that they needed to beat. Purely, I thought, and I said it a couple of episodes ago, and even moving into like the Manly game at the end of the season, they just didn't play enough football. They didn't play enough football to try and win games from other teams. They wanted to play safe footy, kick to the corner, try and play the long game. But at the end of the day, to beat the best, you actually have to play some football as well. Yes, you have to be strategically sound defensively. You got to complete high. But when you get opportunities and moments in games, you have to be able to execute and play some football. So if I think about the back half of the season, you could nearly give that a C. You could nearly give that a C. You put it together, what is that? A B plus, a B minus. A B minus for the season, Goran. I thought they set their season up well from the get-go. Not the Vegas game, but they set their first 15 rounds up to where they got to at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, when they played against a quality side like the Penrith Panthers, and I spoke about it in the last episode, just didn't play enough football for me. Didn't play enough football to be a threat to the Penrith Panthers to try and win their game. And if you think of the grand scheme of things, hypothetically, they could have been playing an understrength Bulldogs team, and maybe they could have beaten them, and they could have been one game off, the big dance. But as rugby league works, it's every game counts. Once you get into the new season, everyone starts on nil, or doesn't matter where you finish on the ladder, you're still competing for that opportunity to be on the big dance. So, yeah, I reckon they would be happy with the first half of the season, but then they want to find ways where they can improve in the second half and then try and bring this whole season together. And rather than getting a B minus from me, maybe having an A and competing this week and the week after, and then maybe playing in the grand final. But unfortunately, that's rugby league. They didn't make it, and they would be disappointed in that last performance for sure.
Yeah, we've said this so many times, but now that the season's over, I feel like we can have like a proper, we can have it all out. Tanner Boyd or Te Maire Martin, right? And we've been backing Te Maire Martin to the hilt for a long, long time. 9 games before finals. 9 games. If you put Te Maire Martin in the halves with Chanel or whoever, but as long as you've got Te Maire in there, I reckon they make the 4. They were too safe for the back half of this season. Well, take the handbrake off and put the guy in there who takes risks. To think that they were just 2 points outside of the 4, if you gave Te Maire that run of games, 9 games, and then into a final, and maybe you win that first finals game from the top 4, to your point, you're then a game away from a grand final. I know it's a case of like hypotheticals and what might have been, but I personally believe the Warriors would still be alive in this season's competition had they gone a different way. With Tanner Boyd, it was almost like, okay, I get the fact that the guy can kick a rugby league ball and he can kick it far and he's quite accurate. However, when you've got to coerce a guy into running, like, hey, do you mind running the rugby league ball for us? Oh, yeah, okay, I'll give it a shot. Like, that's not good enough, in my opinion, my humble opinion. I want a guy with a bit of X factor who is going to take on the line, who is going to run in the mould of Luke Metcalf, the guy who had been doing so well for that first half of the competition. I don't know why you wouldn't want to try and emulate or replicate that with someone that was in your ranks. It's the last time, my last rant about Te Maire Martin, because I feel like this is the only opportunity we're going to get. Beyond this, it's NRL Finals. But I think that was a miscalculation or a misselection from Andrew Webster, who generally does a really good job, but I think it's ultimately cost him and the Warriors at least another week of finals footy.
Well, on League of Our Own, we're a Te Maire fan.
Yeah, we are.
I tend to agree, Goran. I think you give him some time in the saddle, and you allow him to play his style of football with the players that he has. I think he could have unlocked someone like Leka on the outside of him. Like he's deceptively fast as well for someone that doesn't look like he moves quick. He's played fullback. Their first and foremost instinct is to run first, and we've seen some of the best fullbacks transition, especially the Melbourne boys, transition into the halves position, and their threat is always their run. And then what comes second is a little bit of the passing game and the creativity on the back of that, because that's been their jobs as a fullback. We've seen him do those things. We've seen him in the past be able to create opportunities for others, and he's unpredictable at times. But in saying that, that's when you're playing finals football, sometimes those things work for you. Someone like Reece Walsh has showed the NRL what he can do. They talk about he's got all these passing skills and speed and stuff like this. And sometimes he doesn't get it right, but 9 times out of 10 he gets it right, or he gets it wrong. But 9 times out of 10 he gets it right. So you take the rights with the wrongs, and you just create a footballer who we call Tamari Martin, who I think that can change games, for teams. And yeah, I think like everyone, Goran, players included and staff, they will review the season individually and as a group and say where we got it right and wrong. And then that'll be the thoughts that they'll take into preseason, how we're going to use someone like Tamari, because we all know that Luke Metcalf's going to be back. So Tamari again, Tanner Boyd will be sitting in the background if they're still going to do Chanel Harris-Tavita. So there's opportunities for grab, but like everything in rugby league, sometimes injuries happen. You could be an injury away from playing in your position. But I think if we look at the back half of that season, someone like Tamari may have helped them stay in those positions, or at least play a style of football that's going to challenge the opposition with, I guess, a little bit of the unknown.
Yeah, and when they were playing that style of football in the front half of the season, it was with Luke Metcalf. And, look, we're saying that Andrew Webster got it wrong with the replacement of Luke Metcalf, but we also need to say, well done, Mr. Webster, in putting Luke Metcalf in the 7 jersey in the first place. Because when Sean Johnson retires and you're looking at all your different half options, I don't know how many people were picking Luke Metcalf to take the 7. And when he did, he made every post a winner, and he was leading the Dallin when it went silent. The guy was an absolute freak, and it was the running game, right? But Luke Metcalf, he's kind of like a blessing and a curse all rolled into one. We've seen how devastatingly good he can be, but we also know the injury toll over the last few years. And even before he got to the Warriors, when he did, I think he did an ACL when he was with the Sharks a few years ago. And so when you look at his career, it's been punctuated by long-term injuries. These are the number of games he's managed to play in his 3 seasons with the Warriors. He's played 12, 7, 15. And so this season was his most involved as a New Zealand Warrior. But what those figures show us is that he is going to leave the door not even ajar, wide open for somebody else to come in and do his job for him while he's not there for huge amounts of time. So I don't look. We've put the spotlight on Rocco Berry before when it comes to finding an injury, but clearly the Warriors halfback can find one as well. So how does he come back from an ACL? Is he going to be as explosive as he was? Is he going to be as fast as he was? And look, fingers crossed he is. But when he breaks down, Andrew Webster's going to have another conundrum on his hands. And who does he turn to at that point? Interesting things to think about, right, as we move into 2026 for the Wars.
Yeah, definitely is. And I think when you think about Luke Metcalf, pretty resilient player, to be honest, and a person individually, because, been through some tough times early in his career. And, you would ask him, he would have said the first 15 rounds of the competition was his best 15 games he's played in a long time. When when the Warriors are getting spoken about in Australia, Goran, you know they're doing something really well. And and what spearheaded the conversation was Luke Metcalf. Luke Metcalf, he was, like you said, he was polling top of the Dallins. He looked like there was no one was gonna get him. And we spoke about it. I said, man, if he stays on the field, he's going to win this because he is one of their own. The Aussies love Aussies. They will put him in front of everyone to win this one. But unfortunately, due to his injury, he wasn't able to stay on the field that long. So you said it earlier, going to be real hard. I guess he's done hammies before, a lot of different injuries, breaks, and he's come back and bounced back them, and it looked really good. He hasn't lost any speed. Like any injury, it takes a few weeks to get used to. Once you hit the ground running, confidence, understanding that all the rehab that you've done, that mentally that you're ready to go. And I think that's what it is, Goran. I think it's the mental battle, understanding that you've put the work in to get yourself in this position to be able to do what you can do at a high speed consistently week in, week out. But you said it still opens the door for someone because like anything, including myself, the way I got a game into the opportunity into NRL through an injury. And then from there, it's about trying to hold your position. So every player has an opportunity, and most probably more so at the Warriors in the spine area. You know, your hooker, your halves, and who the Warriors want to go through moving forward into the future. You said it, Tamati Martin's only there for another year. Luke Metcalf is the future. Did they go all in with their chips and bank on him that he's going to be their number 7 moving forward in the future and then consistently be on the field, getting into finals football? We most probably know that he can be, but is his body going to hold up through the tough times of this competition? Then you've got Chanel Harris-Tavita, you've got Jet Cleary there. They've got a few Aussie younger kids in the background through their pathways who are knocking on the door as well. So they've got I guess a lot of talent at their hands around that halves position. And if you're a half at the Warriors, you're mostly thinking, I'm half a chance of I'm playing footy if I put the work in, understands the systems and the structure that the Warriors are trying to do, and give yourself an opportunity through maybe when an injury comes aboard. So it's a tough one, but I back Luke Metcalf and his rehab and his resilience that he's going to be back to his best again in 2026.
We can hand out bouquets to guys like Luke Metcalf and Erin Clark, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Leka Halasima for their efforts this year. One person who might not be on a lot of Waz fans' radars at this point, because we haven't seen too much of him, is Taine Tuaupiki. Now, his early season form was scintillating. Like, I don't think he put a foot wrong apart from maybe the game against the Storm, but then everybody put a foot wrong against the Storm when they got done by 40-odd. He got his opportunity, to your point, when someone was injured, and that someone was Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, and he played in the unfamiliar position of winger and did it really well. Dallin comes back. We don't see Taine as often, and we all know how difficult a year Dallin has had on defence in particular. And look, the tries dried up as well for him when he came back. We're used to seeing him score bucket loads, and that never really happened upon his return. But I wonder what the future holds for Taine. And we know that his preferred position is fullback. When you look at the competition, the way it's evolving, and you're trying to find spots in your lineup for either guys with incredible pace or incredible footwork, the ability to beat a guy. It's not so much about just being a solid body and running over the top of a defender anymore, is it, Blairy? So what does the future hold for Taine Tuaupiki on the back of what was such great early season form?
I thought he was outstanding. For someone that's measurably, I'm not going to say he's never played wing, but made it a home. I thought in those first few rounds while Dallin was out, I didn't think he didn't put a foot too much wrong, and done a solid job at it. We all know that he's a fullback. That's his preferred position. I don't know how much longer he has at the club. Obviously, there's an investment in behind Chance for the next couple of years and what he can do. We all know what Chances do. He's going to carry 20 times. He's going to be safe defensively. I guess the biggest thing that they've done in the past and said about Chance, it's goal line D. He counts his numbers right. He can organise people around the field. But at the same time, you could say something that Taine offers something different to what Chance brings. He's that smaller body, quicker across the ground, ducks in and around defenders, ducks in behind the ruck, Keanu Kinney-like. And I think when you think about the future and where they're going, I don't think there's too many other fullbacks below them that would jump over the top of someone like Taine. So if I think about the longevity of Taine Tuaupiki and the Warriors, I think they need to invest some time into someone like him and give him an opportunity to hold down a spot and give him some confidence and some belief in his ability to actually show his worth. Because I think we've seen it, and I'm guessing the fans love what he brings as well. He might not have everything that Chance has right now, but the investment in him for the future is let's coach him up, give him all the tools possible, sit him in behind Chance for as long as we need to. Chance can mentor him, get around him, but when the opportunity comes, they got to start looking towards the future of where they see someone like Taine Tuaupiki in the future.
I think there's a real opportunity here for the Warriors to almost do Jason Riles at the Eels. Like, he came in and he had to clean house, right? Yeah. And one of the people that went away was their skipper, Clint Gutherson. Yeah. Now, Clint Gutherson, I've watched him probably closer than most people. Jason Riles comes in and he's like, sorry, mate, we need a little bit of pace, we need a little bit of youth, and you're out of here, mate. And so he goes off to the Dragons. They bring in Isaiah Iongi from the Penrith Panthers, played, I think, just one game of first grade at that point. And come the end of the season, he's a superstar. And it's all about the pace, the acceleration that he's got is phenomenal. Yeah, he's still got issues with his hands, but wonderful player in the making. And that's exactly what the Warriors could have with Taine Tuaupiki. Yeah, you can slot in on the wing, but how good would it be to see him play a full season at fullback? And maybe they're talking about Taine Tuaupiki the same way that, you know, the Fox League crew are talking about Iongi at the Eels. So there is an opportunity here. Maybe Taine is the guy. I don't know if they're willing to make that call because we know how much Chance means to Andrew Webster, but I'd certainly be thinking about it.
It's definitely worth a conversation in the preseason, Goran. You know, I guess when you sit down, like I said earlier, when you have a review of the season and you look at your roster and what's coming in and moving out, you need to understand or identify what our plans are, not for the immediate, but the future and where we see it 2 to 3 years, or 3 to 4 or 3 to 5-year time, and who's going to be that fullback moving forward. Like you said with Iongi, consistency, belief, time on the NRL paddock. Yes, you're going to get mistakes, but at the same time, their lessons and their development for their consistency and their performance for the future. And I think that's what the Parramatta have done really well this year is they back these kids. They've gone out. Yes, there's been moments where they've been up and down, but that's what you're going to get. At the same time, it's a future view, not just the short term, what's right now and what's present, what do we need. So again, I reckon they'll go into the preseason, have a bit of a review, what our roster looks like, who's coming in, who's going out, what's our plan for 5 years rather than the next 2. It's a 5-year plan, and what does that look like moving forward for the Warriors in those positions?
One of the things after full-time Warriors v Penrith that came out of the mouth of Andrew Webster is that he still believes that there's a final ingredient missing that's going to take the New Zealand Warriors from a top 8 team, or at times a top 4 team, to a Premiership winning side. Now, when I look at the team, I think, you know, maybe just a couple of selection differences and a little bit of luck when it comes to injury, and they would be right near the top of the pile. But I'm thinking that he's probably looking a little bit deeper. In your mind, what are they missing? Who are they missing that could take this Warriors squad to the promised land? Have you got any ideas? Any thoughts in that head of yours?
I'll chuck some thoughts up.
Yeah, man.
I think when you look at some of the best clubs in the competition, I guess that are playing finals football this week, or even the following week. The one position that I think that stands out to me the most is having someone in the centre position with X factor, someone that can be strike that you can go to. We know they tried that with Roger, didn't work. Someone like a Stephen Crichton. I know you're not going to get Stephen Crichton, but someone that can do something similar to him, be a threat on the side. They've got Leka Halasima, who's a strike back rower, and he's going to get better as he goes for his development in first grade. But I think at the moment you've got Pompey, safe as houses, been doing a great job, Mr. Consistent, runs really good lines, defends the house down. And then you've got obviously Rocco Berry, who we think just can't buy a trick, but is the future of the club. You got Ali Lautoa that, again, you spoke about it, with a bit of luck and a bit of lesser injuries. I think Ali Lautoa's got X factor as well, written all over him. But right now, if they're missing an ingredient, and that's what Coach Webster said, I'm thinking either it's an X factor, and it's an X factor centre, or a winger with speed. A winger with speed. And the name that's been tossed up, Alofi Kamperera. Someone that can then make something out of nothing, Goran. You can sit on your try line and defend the house down. And then a team puts a grubber through. It's picked up from Alofi, just saying it's Alofi, and you just watch them run the length of the field. You've defended your ass off for 5 sets. People are just making tackles. They're working underneath. They're working hard for each other. The opposition put a grubber through. He picks it up, and you can just wave him home and just do those ones. Yeah. Get the whip out, ride him home. The Melbourne Storm have had, obviously, Adoka, Vunivalu, Marika Korobeti. Those guys, some of these Fijian guys, or even Pacifica boys that are fast, that are elusive, that can beat players one-on-one. Someone of the person, the person like those boys. I think someone similar to someone like I don't know where they are in the competition. I'm trying to think if there's any strike centers out there besides Crichton, but I think a strike center and a fast outside back winger.
Does that mean that if you're, and I know that he has been mentioned, Lofi Khan Pereira, if you're bringing him into the club, is it for Roger, who then goes to rugby early, or is it for Dallin Wataniza-Lesniak, who's still on contract, but just didn't do as well as we had hoped this season?
Oh, gee, man, that's tough. But
someone's got to make way, mate. Someone's got to get out of there.
I'm about to get there. I'm not going to chop anyone, but I'm just going to say how ruthless the game of rugby league is, Goran. Been around the game for so long, and if something pops up and the opportunity for the club sees that this could be a better fit than where they are, and there's person in his position, maybe that's the option. I know they got someone like Seo Carley who's sitting down in the pathways. New South Wales Cup, who's got X factor about him as a winger. He's elusive, he moves well. But someone like Alofi Kamperera, he's racked up close to 100 games. He's played some NRL. He's an out and out, fast, speed, lightning. You put an early kick in. If we're saying the Warriors here to play some football, just mixing the game up a little bit, an early kick to a corner. You got someone like Alofi chasing the ball. Man, that could be a great recipe for some footy being able to be played in 2026 for the Warriors. So that's just my thoughts, Goran. I don't know. I'm sure everyone else may have some ideas around who they think he may be, I guess, hinting to or looking for. You get Luke Metcalf back on the field, Goran. You don't need another half. And so, no. and Luke Metcalf has X factor written all over him. You got Tamari Martin there. You got Leka Halasima. You obviously still got Roger. The centre position, I reckon you got the safeness of Adam Pompey. You got the injury centre pairing on the opposite side, Rocco Berry, Ali Lautoa. So maybe bringing in an X-factor centre and an out and right speed winger that can maybe add a little bit of flair to what the Warriors have showed us for the first 15 rounds of the competition, injury-free.
Here we go, Blairy. Betcha this happens for week 2 of the NRL Finals. Last week, we came within a bee's dick of claiming our $35. But for the Brisbane Broncos and Reece Walsh and his headbutting exploits, oh, mate, the Raiders, they celebrated the win twice and they still lost, man.
Man, that was a tough one, but what an outstanding game, Goran. Great
awesome.
Football played, great footy played on both sides, and you got to feel for the Raiders too at the same time. But at the same time, it's like, man, you put yourself in the position to take the game away early from the Brisbane Broncos, leading by 16 points, had 11 men on the field at one stage there, and just couldn't find a way to beat them. You give opportunities to someone like Reece Walsh and the Broncos, the way they play their footy, this is what they can do to you. So it was unfortunate they celebrated a couple of times, maybe 2 times too many.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Celebrate when it's done. That's my advice for what it's worth. Yeah. Okay, so we move into week 2. And for week 2, because there's only 2 games, I think we need to spice things up, make the multi a little bit more enticing. So follow my lead, mate. We're going to look at margins of victory, and we're also going to identify a few anytime try scorers across the 2 games. So here we go. Betcha this happens, week 2 of the NRL Finals. We start with the Canberra Raiders and the Cronulla Sharks. I'm looking at the winning margins here. I'm going to pick the Canberra Raiders 1-12, which is paying $2.85. The reason I'm thinking like that, I reckon they'll be slightly gassed after going 94 minutes with the Brisbane Broncos, but they should have enough in the tank to get the job done. So that's the first part of our multi. Now looking at anytime try scorers, Blairy, I reckon even though he'll be on the losing side, got to back Kiwi, and he loves scoring tries. Ronaldo Mulatalo to get across the line, he's paying $2.05. And then KO Weeks, the former track champion, I reckon we back him in at $2.30. How do you like those picks?
Yeah, outstanding, Goran. We have to go after it. It's finals football. We've got finals fever, and you sound like you got it too. So I reckon they're the key numbers, they're the key people, and that's the margin. I like it.
All right. And in our second game, Dogs and the Panthers. Looking at the winning margin there, I'm backing the Penrith Panthers. I think Ivan Cleary is going to do over his former assistant coaches one week after the other.
Again.
First it was Andrew Webster. This week it'll be Cameron Ciraldo, but it'll be a tight one as well. So the next leg of our multi is the Penrith Panthers to win 1-12, paying $2.65. Looking at anytime try scorers, back Kiwi again. Casey McLean. He's doing wonders out there on the left edge for the Penny Panthers. An anytime try scorer for McLean is $2.55, so we'll get on that. And then let's go the other side as well. The Bulldogs, not really sure what to make of their outside backs, given Marcelo Montoya, Stephen Crichton, they're listed in the extended bench. And so I don't know who's going to turn up on game day. I reckon one certainty that you can almost bank on is that Jacob Carraz will be there. So let's back him for anytime try scorer, paying $2.75. When you add it all up, Blairy, let's get excited. That multi, that six leg multi, sex leg? Geez, I'll be having sex with your leg if this comes in, mate. It's paying $167.17.
Wow.
So I'm going to put $5 on that. And the return, the estimated return, is $835.86. Remember, bet responsibly, R18 on the Betcha app. What do you make of all that, mate?
Oh, shut the gate. Shut the gate, Corin. Shut the gate. Oh, man, I thought we were getting finals fever, and it sounded like it by the way you put your bets on tonight. But, man, why not? Why not, Goran? How good?
I need to lie down after that, mate. I promise you I'll never have sex with your leg. Man, we covered a lot of good territory until that point, and I apologise I've let us all down. But, mate, awesome to be in your company. as always, love chatting the great game of rugby league with you, and be excited about the prospects of the New Zealand Warriors for 2026. Okay, they bowed out in week 1 of this year's finals campaign, but the fact is they bloody well got there, and next year, with a bit of luck when it comes to injuries and maybe a bit of luck when it comes to referees in the bunker, who knows where the Warriors could land. With your strike centre and your strike winger, they could win the whole thing, mate. It could be the Warriors' year in 2026.
Oh man, every year is an exciting year for every team, including the Warriors. And like anyone, Goran, anyone below the 8 would have loved to swap positions for the Warriors or any 100%. Team above them. So they got to play the finals football, and it hasn't been played in there for a long time, for a while for them. So it's an exciting opportunity. They know what it feels like. They know what their style of football is, with a healthy 25 players and ready to go after the season in 2026. Some ins and outs. I think they're going to be in a better position again next year. So the fans would love to see all this stuff. I know rugby league is finals football. The Warriors are not in it, but there's some great Kiwi players playing in this competition. And like we do, we support not only the Warriors, but we support the Kiwi players in the game of NRL. And I'm looking forward to these games coming up, looking forward to the games in the future, but also looking forward every time I jump on here and speak with you, Goran, because we bring the beautiful game of rugby league not only to the viewers on our pages and our platforms, but we get to chat with each other and catch up as well. So awesome, Goran, great to see you, man, and love this time of the evening.